There's a judgment happening right now that you can't escape. It happens before you speak a single word, before you show your credentials, before you demonstrate your value. In less than 3 seconds, every person you meet has already decided whether you're worth their time, their respect, their opportunities. And the criteria they're using has nothing to do with who you actually are. This isn't fair, this isn't right, but this is reality. Your appearance, not your character, not your intelligence, not your work ethic, is the gatekeeper to everything you want. And most people are standing at the gate wondering why it won't open, never realizing they're broadcasting a signal that says, keep this one locked out. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this 500 years ago when he wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see you, but very few have to feel who you are." Translation: the world operates on appearances, and if you're not controlling how you appear, you're letting others decide your worth based on lazy assumptions and biological shortcuts. Today I'm going to show you why everything works against someone who presents poorly, how this triggers predatory responses in others, and the specific mechanics of transforming your visual presence from liability into weapon. This isn't about vanity. This is about survival in a world that judges books by their covers and never gets around to reading most of them. Let me explain what happens in the first 3 seconds of meeting someone. Your brain is an efficiency machine. It doesn't want to work. It doesn't want to invest energy figuring out the complex reality of who this new person actually is. So it takes shortcuts, visual shortcuts. When someone sees you, their ancient brain is running a rapid assessment, threat or opportunity, high status or low status, resource or liability. This assessment happens unconsciously. It's faster than conscious thought, and it's based almost entirely on visual data. Posture, grooming, clothing condition, eye contact patterns, spatial confidence. If the visual data suggests weakness, poverty, or defeat, even subtly, a cascade of biological responses gets triggered. Not because people are evil, but because this is how human hierarchies have functioned for hundreds of thousands of years. Here's the brutal part. Once that initial judgment forms, everything else you do is filtered through it. This is called confirmation bias. If they've decided you're low value based on appearance, your intelligence will be interpreted as trying too hard. Your confidence will be interpreted as overcompensation. Your ideas will be dismissed as unrealistic. You're fighting uphill against a verdict that was rendered before you opened your mouth. Think about the last time you saw someone in wrinkled, ill-fitting clothes, with slouched posture and downcast eyes. Did you wonder if they were a genius? Did you consider that they might have insights you need? Be honest. You didn't. You made an instant judgment, probably negative, and moved on. You did it to save cognitive energy, and everyone else is doing the same thing to you. This is what psychologists call the horn effect, the dark twin of the halo effect. When one negative trait is visible, people assume all your traits are negative. Unkempt appearance suggests laziness. Wrinkled clothes suggest lack of discipline. Poor grooming suggests inability to manage your life. The logical chain the brain follows is simple. If you can't govern your own presentation, why would anyone trust you with important responsibilities? If you can't maintain basic standards for yourself, why would anyone believe you can meet standards for them? Your visual presentation is being read as evidence of your internal discipline. Fair or not, that's the calculation happening beneath conscious awareness. Now let's address something uncomfortable. Poverty is not just an economic state, it's a signal, and human beings are wired to respond to it with distance, not compassion. When you present yourself in a way that signals scarcity, worn clothing, defeated posture, apologetic behavior, you're triggering something primal in others. You're reminding them of vulnerability, and vulnerability reminds them of danger. Not physical danger, economic danger. The danger of association with failure. Here's why this matters. People are terrified of being connected to failure. If they hire someone who looks like they're struggling and that person fails, they look foolish. I should have known. Look at them. But if they hire someone who looks polished and that person fails, they're forgiven. They look the part. They fooled everyone. Your appearance is an insurance policy for decision makers. When you look the part, you lower the risk for others to bet on you. This creates a vicious cycle. Looking poor makes people reluctant to give you opportunities. Lacking opportunities keeps you poor. Looking poor confirms that you don't deserve opportunities. The cycle reinforces itself. But there's a way to break it, and it doesn't require money. It requires understanding the mechanics. Let me give you a specific example. Two people need a loan. Same credit score, same financial situation. One walks into the bank in rumpled clothes, speaking quickly, explaining their need urgently. The other walks in wearing a clean, well-fitted outfit, speaking slowly and calmly, framing their request as an opportunity rather than a need. Who gets better terms? The second person, every single time. Because they signaled abundance rather than desperation. They look like someone who has options, which paradoxically makes others want to provide options for them. This is the dark paradox of resources. Money flows to people who look like they don't need it. Opportunities go to people who seem like they already have them. Help is offered to those who appear least desperate for it. Why? Because people want to invest, not donate. Investment suggests return. Donation suggests loss. When you look desperate, you're asking for charity. When you look capable, you're offering partnership. The shift in framing changes everything. Here's what most people get wrong about appearance. They think it requires money. It doesn't. It requires discipline. A man in a $40 shirt that's perfectly clean, crisp, and well-fitted looks wealthier than a man in a $400 designer shirt that's wrinkled and stained. The difference isn't the brand, it's the maintenance. Discipline is visible, and visible discipline signals competence. When your shoes are polished, you're demonstrating attention to detail. When your clothes fit properly, you're demonstrating self-awareness. When your grooming is consistent, you're demonstrating routine and structure. These aren't superficial signals, they're behavioral evidence. They suggest that you can maintain standards, that you can follow through on commitments, that you have systems in place to manage complexity. The person who can't maintain their own presentation is sending a message: I cannot control the entropy of my own life. And if you can't control your own entropy, why would anyone trust you with their projects, their money, their opportunities? Let me be specific about what discipline looks like. Your shoes, clean, polished, free of scuffs. This costs time, not money. It requires 5 minutes every few days. Your clothes, clean, pressed, properly fitted. A $30 shirt from a discount store that's been tailored and maintained looks better than a $300 shirt that's wrinkled and poorly fitted. Your grooming, hair clean and deliberately styled. Nails clean and trimmed. Face either clean-shaven or beard deliberately shaped. This costs effort, not wealth. Your posture, shoulders back, head level, taking up appropriate space. This costs awareness, not money. It requires you to notice when you're slouching and correct it. Your movement, deliberate, unhurried, purposeful. Moving like someone who's paid salary, not hourly. This costs presence, not resources. None of these things require wealth. All of them require discipline. And discipline is the most valuable signal you can send, because it suggests competence at everything else. The wealthy look clean, that's the real secret. Not expensive, clean, maintained, ordered. They look like they've removed themselves from the chaos and grime of survival. When you look dusty, worn down, chaotic, you're broadcasting that survival is overwhelming you, that you're losing the battle against entropy, that life is happening to you rather than you directing life. Fix this, and you change how every interaction begins. Now I need to show you something darker about why appearance matters so much. Human beings are predators, not in the violent sense, in the strategic sense. We're constantly scanning our environment for opportunities and threats, for who we can use and who might use us. This isn't cynical, it's biological. Every social animal does this. We assess hierarchies because hierarchies determine access to resources, mates, safety, and status. When you present yourself poorly, you trigger what I call the predator response in others. You look vulnerable, and vulnerability invites exploitation. Think about it from an evolutionary perspective. A limping animal in the wild gets targeted, not because predators are cruel, but because a limping animal is easier prey. It can't defend itself effectively, it can't fight back. It's a low-risk target. Human society is a sanitized version of this dynamic. We don't attack with teeth and claws, we attack with bad deals, with manipulation, with exploitation, with dismissal. When you look weak, you're limping. You're signaling that you have no resources to defend yourself. No allies to back you up. No recourse if someone harms you. This is why people who present poorly get overcharged, underpaid, and mistreated more frequently. They're low-risk targets. There's no perceived danger in taking advantage of them. Compare this to someone who presents with strength. A merchant who might cheat someone in expensive clothes hesitates. Why? Fear. Fear that this person has lawyers. Fear that they have connections. Fear that they can damage reputations, file complaints, bring consequences. The person in expensive clothes has deterrence. The visual presentation itself is a warning. I can fight back. I have resources. I have allies. Harming me carries risk. Appearance is armor. It's a psychological force field that makes predators hesitate. And hesitation is all you need, just enough pause for them to think, maybe this isn't worth the risk before they move on to easier targets. I've watched brilliant people get destroyed because they didn't understand this. They thought their work would speak for itself. They thought their loyalty would protect them. But they dressed like they had nothing, so they were treated like they had nothing. And when difficult decisions came, when budgets were cut, when scapegoats were needed, the finger pointed at the person who looked like they couldn't fight back. This isn't about being cruel to others. This is about understanding that the world is cruel and preparing accordingly. There's another element of appearing poor that most people miss: noise. People who present poorly are noisy, not just with their appearance, but with their behavior. They over-explain, they justify constantly, they fill every silence with nervous chatter, they reveal their insecurities, their plans, their weaknesses, all in the name of being open or building connection. This is poverty behavior. It signals desperation for validation, need for approval, anxiety about being judged. Power is silent. Watch actual high-status people in any environment. They speak less than everyone else. They let silence exist without rushing to fill it. They're comfortable being observed without performing. Why? Because silence creates mystery. Mystery creates interest. When you're quiet, people project their own assumptions onto you, and those assumptions are usually more favorable than reality. When you over-explain, you remove mystery. You show all your cards. You give people the information they need to dismiss you, categorize you, or use you. Think about it. The tiger doesn't announce its presence before it strikes. The CEO speaks last in meetings. The person everyone respects is the one who chooses their words carefully. When you babble, when you seek to fill every pause, when you volunteer your problems and insecurities, you're inflating the supply of your words, which crashes their demand. You've told everyone exactly how to handle you, exactly where you're weak, exactly how to manipulate you. Master the closed mouth. Let silence do the work. When someone asks a probing question, don't rush to answer. Pause. Hold their gaze. Let them sit in the discomfort of waiting. Then respond with the minimum necessary information, delivered with calm certainty. Watch how this changes interactions. People start wondering what you're thinking. They begin projecting competence onto you. They assume you're judging them, which makes them seek your approval rather than the reverse. This extends to your digital presence. The person who posts everything, every meal, every thought, every complaint, looks spiritually impoverished. They look desperate for validation, dancing for likes. The person who posts rarely but with intention looks like they have a life too rich to be captured on screens. Scarcity creates value. Make your words rare. Make your presence scarce. Become a signal that appears occasionally rather than noise that's constant. There's one final element that determines whether you look poor or powerful: the company you keep. You are judged by association. If you're surrounded by people who look defeated, who speak like victims, who carry themselves with resignation, you get painted with the same brush. This is harsh but true. You are the average of the 5 people you're seen with most often. If you walk into a room with a group that looks low status, no one will mistake you for high status regardless of how you individually present. The group pulls you down. The halo effect works in reverse. It becomes a shadow effect. This is why social climbers fight to be in certain photos, at certain tables, in certain rooms. They know the image is the asset. Being seen with successful people transfers credibility to you. You borrow their status until you build your own. This doesn't mean you abandon people you care about. It means you compartmentalize. When you're in professional environments, when you're building your reputation, when you're being evaluated, you need to be seen with people who elevate your perceived status. Machiavelli warned that a prince is judged by the quality of the people around him. If his advisors are capable, he's considered wise. If they're fools, he's considered a fool. Audit your circle. Who makes you look like a leader? Who makes you look like part of a problem? This requires hardness of heart. But remember, the objective isn't to be nice. The objective is to be effective. Niceness doesn't pay bills, doesn't create opportunities, doesn't build the life you want. Effectiveness does. Everything I've shown you comes down to one decision. Are you going to wait for the world to discover your hidden value? Or are you going to make your value visible so the world can't ignore it? Because here's the truth. The world doesn't owe you its time. It doesn't owe you the effort of looking beneath your surface to find your depth. It has billions of people to evaluate, and it's going to use the most efficient method available, which is visual assessment. You can be angry about this. You can call it shallow. You can insist that character should matter more than appearance, and you'll be right, and you'll be struggling. Or you can accept the reality and weaponize it. Every morning you're dressing for a role. You're casting yourself in your own life. Are you the background extra, the victim, the person things happen to? Or are you the protagonist, the architect, the person who makes things happen? The costume department is in your control, but most people are choosing the wardrobe of defeat and wondering why the script keeps ending badly. Your appearance is not vanity. It's respect for yourself. If you truly value your mind, your potential, your future, why would you house it in a presentation that looks like a ruin? To dress poorly, to carry yourself with defeat, to surround yourself with people who drag you down, these are acts of self-disrespect. And the world is a mirror. It reflects the respect you show yourself. If you treat yourself like a discount item, people will bargain with you. If you treat yourself like a rare artifact, people will handle you with care. The judgment is coming. It comes every day, from every pair of eyes that lands on you. The verdict is being rendered in 3 seconds. What will they see? Someone to overlook? Someone to take advantage of? Someone to dismiss? Or someone to respect? Someone to include? Someone to invest in? You now understand the law. Appearance is the gatekeeper. Discipline is the key. Association is the amplifier. The question isn't whether this is fair. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Because the world isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's judging you right now based on what it sees. And if what it sees is weakness, poverty, defeat, it will treat you accordingly. Change what they see. Change how you're treated. Change your trajectory. The choice is yours. The judgment has already begun. If this revealed something you've been ignoring, write in the comments, "I control the signal." Share this with someone who's wondering why opportunities aren't coming despite their talent. Subscribe if you're ready to stop being invisible and start being inevitable.